Hey guys, thanks for joining the webinar today. It's awesome to have you all here. I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds just to wait for everyone to get on, because this time we are using Zoom, so it's just a little bit different, just in the hopes that the quality is a little bit better this time as well. But just while we're all in here getting used to it, and I will just go over this in a second as well, but how Zoom works is there's two different chat kind of options. So there's either a chat button that you'll see if you kind of hover your mouse over the Zoom screen. And what that does is that's just like to pop in and say hello and see how everyone's going, to pop any feedback in there. But then there's also a Q&A section. And the Q&A is where you can pop all of your questions that you want us to cover at the end in the Q&A time. That just makes it a lot easier for us rather than having to scroll through the chat so we don't miss anything. Just pop any specific questions in the Q&A button. But yeah, cool. We'll just wait a couple more seconds and then we'll get straight into it. Awesome, and just give us a yell if you can't see the screen or you're having trouble hearing. But as I said, what we're doing today is we're doing a bit of a mix between the admin console and the app side of things. I thought I'd start with the admin console because we do sometimes get a little bit of pixelation or a bit of fuzziness on the app. So that's just a short part at the end, but since we're trialing Zoom and we've tried a new connection, hopefully that looks a lot better this time, but we'll see how it goes anyways. Awesome, so I'll just get started, we'll get straight into it. What we're covering today are our exciting new July release features, which is really cool. So most of you should know that we've done a release recently. So we're continually to update our software, our app, just to make it really up to date and add in some awesome new features that you guys suggest, and also some that we think will just make things a lot easier for you guys. So what I will be covering today, as I said, is the admin console changes. So this is things like improvements to the dashboard, changes to the date ranges, our new staff and user management system, new reporting, and then we'll also cover some of our new features on the app, which are more around the reporting and dashboard side as well, which will be really cool. All right, I'm just going to jump over to the desktop side. See, we can jump straight into my Safe Food Pro account. So you should be seeing my Safe Food Pro screen now just on my admin console. So what we can see here, I'll start with the dashboard improvements. And so we've got a couple of features here. What you can see is we've got this new and improved today date range up in the top corner up here. So we used to just have this month, last 7 days, this week, and custom, but what we've now got is the today tab. So if you just want to get a quick insight into what's happening today, you just click that one and you can see just the daily form completion of today and the activity stream based off just today's tasks. Same with things like your refrigerations and freezer temperatures, and it just gives you that quick insight so you don't have to go and fiddle around with your custom date range. The next feature on the dashboard, which is really cool, and we've had actually a couple of requests for this in the past, we've found that people like to prioritize their dashboard a little bit different to different users. You all tend to do it quite differently, which is awesome. So what you can do now is rearrange the order of your dashboard. So there's this little settings button up in the top right corner up here. When you click on it, it gives you the options of each different section on that dashboard. And what you can do here is you just click and drag. So say I don't really need to know much about my buckets at the top here. I can move that one down to the bottom and say at the moment I want to focus more on the maintenance because we might have missed a couple of checks. I can drag that up to the top so I can customize it to suit what I need. If you find that you've made a mistake and you don't actually want it how you thought you did, you can just rearrange it and go back to the default by clicking these little lines up here too. And if you click that, it takes it back to where you started. So don't worry about it. You can muck around with it as much as you need and get it back to where it was originally. The next feature that we've given you guys quite a bit of warning and quite a bit of a heads up about is our new staff and users tab. So we used to have this split up between a users tab in the business section and then a staff tab here, but we found we wanted to streamline this a little bit more and put it all in the one place so you can manage everything a lot easier. So if we click on this one, what we can see is it looks a little bit different than what it used to, but you will get used to this. So what we've got here is the users. These are the ones with this little square icon here, and staff are the one with the little people icon. For those who might not know, if you're new to the product, the difference between these two is a user is someone who's set up with an email address and password for, say, Food Pro. So that's someone who might need access to the admin console, which is what we're looking at now. Or you might want to give the manager access to that as well. Or if you're going to do the setup of having all of your staff using, say, Food Pro on their own mobile device, so they'll need their own login to access that. So that's what the users are set up for. The staff are mainly set up for if you use like a generic staff tablet, so one that everyone can use in the kitchen or the front of house. So what you'd do with that setup is set up a tablet user, and then you'd set all of your staff up as staff. And so what that means is that you give them a 4-digit PIN code, and they can log into the already logged in tablet and then use their PIN code to sign off the forms. So that's the difference there. To add them is this pretty much the exact same as it used to be. You just click on this, but this time you just choose whether you want the staff or the users here. Once we go into this one, it does still look a little bit different, but it's all the same information. So you can pop the email address and password up here. Choose the role here, so whether they just want app access, manager, or admin access, or if you're setting up a verifier, so you've got your audits coming up, you can set up a verifier with their own user. You can then pop their name in here and then any additional details. A user, when they first log in, will automatically set up their PIN number there, but you can assign this to them as well, just down here. Cool, so those are the users. You'll see we've got a couple of tabs up here, but those are you can only access those once you've saved the user and when you go back in to edit it. So I'll show you that in just a second. The other one is the staff member, but this one just looks a little bit different. It just doesn't have those email and password at the top. Other than that, everything's basically the same. So what I'm going to do, I'll just show you my user here. So we've got a couple of extra details in here that you can use. If I click on this, this is my user. So you can see this is my email address I've set up that I log in with. And then these are all of my details down here. We've then got this user notification center. And this is where you can set up those notifications that are either emailed to you or sent as a push notification. So like how you get your email or Facebook notifications. These are all the same, except we've added two new notifications that you can use. And so one is our equipment maintenance due. So just say you set up your equipment, you're prompted to set up a maintenance schedule. You can now set up to get notified as a push notification or email 5 days in advance of when that's coming up. That way you can stay on top of it instead of just counting or monitoring the dashboard. You can make it more of a proactive, preemptive process. Same with certificate expiry. So when you've got those certificates and permits, you can set those up with an expiry date and they can get reminded of when those are due again. And once they are due, you can just go back to that resource section and update the date as how you did when you added it. So those are our two new exciting user notification settings that you can set up. The next part are these two tabs across here. So it gives you more of an insight and breaks up the user structure and staff structure a bit as well. So we've got the training history here. What you can see are your completed resources. So any resources that they may have used on the app and signed them off under their name. So you can see I've viewed my template food control plan. Any completed forms or quizzes that this staff member might have done. And then if they've had any follow-up actions either assigned to them or that they're due to complete. So those are there as well. The final little tab is just the resources. As it used to be, it's just in a different spot here. So you can store your permits. So I've got a first aid certificate here. You can add any qualifications or any, specific resources you want to add to that staff member. Awesome, so that's our staff and users section. Same as always, you can edit and delete them from here too. The only other difference is that if you make a mistake or you actually just want to, maybe you've promoted a staff member or they've changed their role and they now need admin access, you can convert them straight from here. So you click the pencil button. So this one's just a staff member, so they don't have that login details set up yet. And you just click here to add a user login. This has now changed how it looks, and it just prompts me to set them up with an email address and a password here, so then they can have that access that they didn't have before. Cool. The next feature we've got are our reports. So I did go over this in one of my webinars, but I find that quite a few people still don't know about it. And I think it's a really helpful tool, especially when it comes to your verifications or just a quick check-in to see how everything's been going. And this is the completed calendar report over here. So my report's looking a little bit sad at the moment. I haven't completed too many forms in my account, but what it does is it just gives you a calendar overview. So you can change what you want to see, whether it's a monthly view, a weekly view here. So it's just like your Google Calendar or your Apple Calendar and things like that, and a day view as well. And the thing to keep in mind here is that you just have to change the date range first up the top, just up here, and that loads the forms that you are going to see in this calendar. So then you can search through those. So say you want to look at the last 3 months data, you'll do the custom date range, you'll change it to 3 months ago, and then you'll be able to look through the calendar at the past 3 months worth of forms. The other thing to see here is the symbols, and these are all the forms you've completed on that day. You can also just click straight into them, and that opens up the form. The other thing to see is the red line at the top and the blue line at the bottom of this one. And what that means is the blue one means they've added a blue note or exception to a form. And the red thing means they've added a follow-up action. And so those are some of the features that were added in the June release. But it just indicates it here. So that way you can kind of close the loop and keep an eye on when an incident has occurred, and to check in if someone's followed that up and if they've completed that loop. If I click on it, you can then see that further from here. So you can see that this was the bathroom check. The blue notes at the top here, so that was that blue line. And the follow-up action was down here. And I can also see that it's still active. So it was assigned to me. So I haven't closed that off. I haven't completed that task yet. When it has been completed, it'll be shown as complete, and it'll show when I updated it over here. So yeah, I find this one really helpful, especially when it comes to verification. So try and have a play around with it to see how you guys might utilize this feature a little bit more as well. The next feature that I have seen that I really enjoy is an auto send from a supplier. And what this is, it's a different type of answer type that we've added, or we've actually just improved one of our existing supplier answer types. What this can be used for is it's automatically sends a form to a supplier once you've completed this form. So it's something you turn on. So my example here that I'll use is if you make a delivery issues form. So say you complete your normal form, you're receiving a delivery, your incoming goods form, but you decide or you see that there's an issue with the delivery. What we can do is make a delivery issues form. If we make that, what happens is you'll add this answer type into it. When that form is completed, it will automatically send to the supplier that the issue came from. And that way it just keeps it, automates the whole process so they get notified that something was wrong and action can be taken straight away. So what I do to set this up is I'll make a new form. So I click the custom form here. I'm just going to call it delivery issues. And this is completely up to you how you set this part up here. And if you contact me, if you think this might work for you guys, I can guide you through doing this a little bit further. I'd probably make the category troubleshooting for this one because it's if an issue happened. What I'll do is you just add a question just here. You add the details you need. So I assume you'd probably need something like the invoice number or the delivery number or however you guys identify your deliveries. I'd add another question that says supplier name. And so this is who gave you the delivery, or you could even make the question, who did you receive the delivery from? I'll change the answer type and I will make this just down here, supplier list select from. And so what this answer type does is it automatically grabs a list straight from who you've added as your suppliers. We've then added this new toggle here that says email supplier when this form is completed. If I turn this on, that activates that action. So whatever email address you've set up with your supplier, if you select that supplier from the app, this form will automatically be sent to them. You'd then add in any additional questions to the form. So say you want to know probably what happened to the delivery, what was wrong. And you can add that in there too. Something that you'll need to do in this form is make sure all of the questions are required, as this form, if you don't and you don't complete it, it will automatically be sent to your supplier. So you want to make sure that it is fully completed before you send it. Otherwise it could be a little bit embarrassing if it's not completed. The final thing to add to this one is probably just some business information. So they'll get an email from us, so they'd probably want to just identify who you guys are. So you'd click instruction text. I'll drag that up to the top and I'll just add some business details. So I'll go business name. Let's just call it Sophie's Cafe. I'll go business address, anything that will help them easily identify who you are. You could even add a business phone number and things in there as well. So once I save that, I'll use that in an instance of if I receive my delivery, something's gone wrong, I'll fill in that form and it'll automatically be sent to the supplier to automate that troubleshooting. So yeah, I think that feature is really awesome and could really come in handy. So flick me a message if you need a hand with setting that one up as well. The next feature we did add actually in the June release, but it's quite a strong one that I just wanted to kind of go over, is our reminders for our forms. So I did show you this in the last webinar, but I more just showed the mobile side of it as opposed to how to actually set it up. So to set up these reminders, this is something that can be set up for a daily scheduled form. So any form that has this daily setup here, you can set up a reminder for it. So that way you get a push notification in the app when that form is due to complete. So you can make sure people are on top of it because things can get quite busy. So let's just say I'm going to change it for my temperature checks form. So I'll type up here to find it. I'll go down here to my temperature check, chillers and cold cabinets, and I'll click the pencil icon here to open up this form. So this is a daily scheduled form, which means I'll have the ability to see the option to add in a reminder just here. I can click on the toggle to start setting up this reminder. If you've set up reminders in the past, you can choose from an already saved reminder. So I've got a bathroom reminder here that's a preset template, but what I'm going to do is just create my own reminder and start from scratch. You can name it if you need to, so if you want to reuse it like we just showed before, and then you can set the amount of minutes before the form is due to remind them. So just say I want to be reminded 5 minutes before the form is due. That then means since this form is due at 12, I'll be reminded at 11:55, a push notification will come up in the app and it'll remind me to complete this form and I'll be able to open it straight from there. The other option when it comes to reminders are question reminders. And so the main purpose of this was for things like your cooling forms or forms where you need to check it every 2 hours or every certain amount of hours. To set these up, you just click on the question, scroll down to the bottom of the question, and you can see that clock reminder thing here as well. If I click on it, it's the same kind of setup as we saw before. So this initiates as soon as this form has started to be completed, a timer will start to go. And it will base off how many questions you've indicated here. So just say I want to be reminded in 2 hours, so I'll do 120 minutes to complete this question that we're looking at here. So if I save that and I start completing the form, in 2 hours, I'll get a push notification in the app that will take me to this form to answer the next question to complete it. So that can be really helpful for those 2-hour checks that you might forget to go back and do. It'll just prompt you and help you stay on top of that as well. Obviously, just save it to save all of those settings as well so you don't lose it, and you can see that these have been set up by this little alarm clock notification here too. Awesome, so let's just jump over now to the web console. Sorry, no, we're in the web console, aren't we? We'll go over to the mobile console. So I've just got this presentation over here, and I'll just show you how these reminders are working. So if I go on to this one, these reminders then show up like this. So you'll see that a little clock notification is by, sorry, clock symbol is by the form that has that. You'll then see a notification pop up like this. When that form is due to complete, you can click open form and that opens the form. And you just then complete it there as normal. So it's just a completely normal process from there. It just gets that pop up coming up, gets your staff on top of it so they don't miss any of those forms. The next mobile feature that we've added is our mobile dashboard. And this is a really cool feature to stay on top of things when you're in the kitchen or at, on site. So you click on the dashboard from the menu, and this replicates the dashboard on the admin console. So you see a little sneak preview of your refrigeration and freezer temperatures. So there's just the graphs up here. You also see the counts for the last 7 days. So those replicate those buckets on your admin console. And then you see the daily form completion percentages at the bottom here as well. So you can see I've got 100% forms completed on Wednesday and Tuesday, 50% on Thursday. So this can be really helpful if you've got a chef or a manager who's more in the kitchen a lot more or works on site, but they still want to have that overview of what's going on without logging into the computer. So you just access that straight from the dashboard. The next feature we've got is the mobile reports. So we've really improved some of our saved forms features. What you can see here is you can now get a quick insight into who completed the form. So I've got initials underneath each form that's been completed. The ones that have blanks mean it's me who has completed that form. So my user was the one who completed that form. So that's why it's blank. Just remember for this one, it's whoever's logged into the app. So if you're using a staff tablet, it would be for that staff user. Click up here and you can see the filter to view only my forms. So that now shows only the forms that I've completed myself personally. So this can work really, really well if you're using things like a customer complaints form or a staff training that you may have semi-completed, but you want to go back and finish, or you just want a quick insight to what you've done this week. And if there's anything you had to go back and double check, you can filter by your forms. But as I mentioned, it is something that you'll need to do. It works, mainly if you're set up as a user on your own device. If you're using that staff tablet, that will only show the forms that that specific user that's logged in has completed. So just good to keep that in mind. The next feature are these form reports. So these are mini form reports that you can see on the app. So kind of like how you can see them on the reports page on the computer. To add them, you click that plus button in the bottom and you go up here to select a form. This gives you a list of all of your forms in your account. So I want a little report on my cooling food check. You can pick up to 5 questions in this report to view. So it's just a mini report if you just want a quick insight on high risk forms or something that you may have dropped the ball on recently you want to make sure everyone's doing. You then click next to save the questions, and this shows the questions I've selected that I want to report on. To view the report, just go and click on it. And this now shows you the report. So it shows the time and date it was completed, and all of the questions that you've selected to view will show up in here. So it's just a really mini report. Something to keep in mind here is if you're using a tablet, the report looks quite different on a tablet view than it does to the mobile. If you've had enough of the report, you don't need it anymore, just click that delete icon at the top as well. But yeah, if you do have a tablet, just keep in mind it looks more like the computer version, so more of a table, whereas this one's more of a completed form view, and that's fully just dependent on your screen size. Awesome, so that actually takes us to the end of all of our features in this new release. We've been throwing out quite a lot of features recently, so if you do have any questions about anything that I've gone over, either pop it in the Q&A today or just flick me an email if you need help setting up something like that auto send supplier form, or you need some more information on how to use the mobile features and things like that. Make sure that your staff tablets and your staff who are using the app have all got the updated version so everything works as you expect to. And that way you just get the benefit of having all of the new features in here as well. Cool. Another thing is just to stay, each time we do these webinars, we get so many people joining our Facebook user group, which is awesome. I'm just going to put a little post on there after this just to get some feedback, to hear what you guys might think will make life for you guys in the industry a little bit easier, just so we can get that conversation starting as well. So don't forget to sign up to our blogs, check out our support library, and we'll have another webinar in a month's time discussing either some different features or really drilling down on another topic. So if there's something you want to learn more about, just let me know and I can do a webinar on that in the future as well. So I'll just have a look at these questions in here. I'll pop my camera on to see if that comes through. Just take the screen off. Perfect, cool. I just see a couple of questions coming up here. Oh yeah, Virginia just asks about taking out those extra COVID forms so they don't need to fill them in every day. We are getting those removed, but in the meantime, you'll just need to change the scheduling of the forms. So I can send out some information on how to do this, but what you do is you go to that forms tab on the admin console, click the pencil button next to the COVID forms, and then you just change the form schedule from there. So you can either change it to none. Actually, none's probably the best, so then it's off your dashboard, and you can just turn it off completely from there as well. Rosie asks if she could access the webinar again. Yes, you definitely can. I've been storing all of the webinars in our support library, so we've got a webinars tab in there. We also have a tab on the website, and if you've signed up today, you automatically get sent the recording of that too. So there's lots of ways to access it, but if you somehow don't get it, just flick me a message and I can send it out to you as well. Steph asks if you need to manually upgrade the software on the PC, tablet, and mobile. So great question. The software on the computer doesn't need to be a manual reset. That just automatically goes when we do the release. In terms of the app, the tablet, the mobile, wherever you have it on there, that is usually an automatic update, but it depends on your device's settings. So if you've got it set for an automatic, it should do it automatically for you, usually when you're in Wi-Fi. But it's just always good to check on the App Store that you've got the latest version. So you could go onto the App Store, search for Safe Food Pro, and it'll tell you whether you need to update or not as well. I think that's all the questions. Oh, have a look in the chat. Doug, is there a video or webinar on task allocation or follow-up? We've got an article on those follow-up actions, and I'm actually making a video on around those, the corrective action side. So using the blue notes and the follow-up actions, assigning them to a staff member, closing the loop. So I'm working on that at the moment. So I'll send you the article after this, but when I get that video done, I'll flick that off to you as well. Awesome.
One more in Q&A.
Oh, cute. They're jumping out everywhere. Perfect. Sorry, it's just jumping up this one. Sorry, I can't get that last question to pop up, so I'll flick whoever that was an email. Sorry, it's just not popping up on that last one. But yeah, if I missed any questions in here, I'll flick you all an email and we'll go over anything. But thank you all for joining these monthly webinars. It's been really awesome having you pop in and learn and upskill about the product. But just stay in the loop if you have any feedback or any ideas, or you just want to chat with some more people in the community. Join the user group, and we'll just go from there. But thanks guys, I'll see you in a month's time, and have a great rest of the week.